just planning one of my private clients, their blocks of training, and I thought I'd share a few ideas that kind of came up. So this client is running a block of training for 4 weeks, and then for the next 4 weeks I'm updating it in terms of loads so that it's progressive for the next block. So the exercises and the routines are identical in the next block, but the loads have all shifted up based on how they've tested at the end of this current block. So there's a low week, a medium week, a high week, and on that high week it's effectively a test week, and then there's a deload before we go into the next block of 4 weeks, and that's going to be repeated, but now with the new maximum loads based on what was tested in that first 4 weeks. So the idea is that I wanted to kind of just share that there's no need to continuously change what you're doing if it's still working for you. So for fighters, I tend to focus blocks of training depending on a different emphasis for each block. So we're trying to move you towards a fight performance state, so we're trying to get through the different qualities and to get all of those amped up and then peak the right ones that we need for the fight as we get there. But also equally, if there's not an important fight coming up and we've got a specific quality that we're trying to build up. So for example, this particular guy, he's working on his strength, his foundation strength needs to be improved. So we're actually repeating a strength block, 2 of them back to back, and we're going to spend 8 weeks actually building up strength rather than just 4. But we're still making sure we've got progressive overload, and we're doing that by increasing the load as we go through. So really it's about not having like a attention deficit disorder where you're thinking things need to change all the time. You actually need a progressive approach to what you're doing so that your body continually adapts, but you also need to give it sufficient stimulus to adapt as well. So if you're moving on prematurely when it's just getting going, spending a little bit more time on it is the key to actually getting better, rather than just moving off onto the next thing and trying to do something completely different. And with blocks of training as well, when you do change between one block and the next, the movements and the exercises actually are largely the same again. You're just kind of got a turnover on some of them so that you've got that progression as you go through. So everything doesn't need to change on every block and you chuck everything out and completely new stuff coming in. There's kind of like a common thread that should run between the blocks, and you're just swapping out certain areas and perhaps changing the loading if you've got a different emphasis, for example, working from more of a strength into a power kind of emphasis, and you're changing some of the exercises based on that. The other thing that's come up with this particular client, this guy's actually a police officer, and on the high week, as we had it structured, he also happened to be doing an advanced driving course. So that, although it wasn't a physical day, the amount of concentration that he had to have for that, he really felt that in the high week, in that his body was actually more stressed and less able to recover from the training as well. So it's that general adaptation syndrome where your body experiences all stress as being the same kind of thing, and whether that's mental emotional stress or physical training stress, the temperature's too hot or too cold, you're getting bad sleep, bad nutrition, all that kind of stuff stresses your body and takes away from your ability to recover from the training. So in this case, advanced driving stress was adding to the stress of the high week that we had programmed in the training as well. So you've got to kind of consider that kind of stuff, that can crop up and interfere with how you're planning your training for that particular block.